Hi folks, I'm Steve Hindy for Showing Animals Respect and Kindness. As many of you know, in the late summer and early fall of 2022, Shark used its drones to extensively video document Mexican rodeos in Boone County, Illinois. Today, we are exposing just how badly these exhibitions of cruelty need to be outlawed. Those involved in these events have proven themselves to be so viciously cruel, they'll even beat their own horses. We exposed these beatings for months, and yet they continued to beat their horses with the full knowledge that we were recording them. As is the pattern at Mexican rodeos, the steers were abused over and over and over. These victims could be run through 15 or 20 times or more. The steers were extensively electroshocked, and they were shocked even more as they became completely exhausted. Injured animals received no veterinary care whatsoever, no matter how badly they were injured. Injured animals were left to suffer all day and into the night. It was the injury of this steer that would later in the day start a chain reaction of abuse that is almost unimaginable in a place like Illinois. A short time later, another steer was injured even more seriously. It was an obvious spine injury that left the steer paralyzed. Because there is no concern at all for the animals, there was no conveyance for the paralyzed steer. He was dragged from the arena by his horns. At this point, the zoom camera lost the scene, but a wide-angle camera recorded as the person dragged the hapless steer, actually slamming him head first into a gate. That suffering, mortally injured steer was abandoned in a pen where he was left to flail. Again, no veterinary care. This is absolutely outrageous, indefensible cruelty occurring in Boone County, Illinois, and the sadism of rodeo participants was just getting warmed up. Injured animals are supposed to be kept separate and protected from others, but the rodeo thugs ran lots of other steers in and out of the pen with the injured animal. This obviously agitated the injured victim. We called Rick Borrett, Operations Supervisor for Boone County Animal Services. After reviewing our video evidence on site, Mr. Borrett went onto the rodeo property with sheriff's deputies. Mr. Borrett and a sheriff's deputy located the injured animals and took pictures. They talked to the rodeo people, who were apparently unhappy that, at long last, they were being held accountable for their abuse. As is so often the case with rodeo people, their anger would be taken out on their animals. That's when this nightmare went even more sideways, as rodeo thugs inexplicably started ripping into their own fencing where the paralyzed steer lay. The next pen over held the steer with the injured leg, and his fencing was also compromised, allowing him to escape his enclosure. You can see the slow-witted response of the rodeo idiots. As the injured, panicked steer made his run for freedom, the fake cowboys proved that they're exactly what we've always claimed them to be, untalented fakes. The hapless steer ran into a bog where he became stuck. Again, the rodeo thugs proved that every claim of idiocy we ever made against them was on the mark. Meanwhile, there was more cruelty in store for the paralyzed steer. An earth mover was used to move the suffering animal as if he was dirt. He was hauled to an area where the rodeo thugs figured they could escape prying eyes, and it almost worked. As the doomed steer was moved out of sight, our drone pilot used all his skill to find an angle to monitor what happened next. Finally, he found his target. It's difficult to see because the steer was purposely taken to a heavily shadowed area. By the time the steer was located, he had already been shot once. True to their pattern of talentless incompetence, the thugs had failed to kill their victim with that first shot. A halfway competent killer would have hit the target the first time around, and if he didn't, he would have immediately fired again. Our imitation cowboy, in his Kmart cowboy hat, took just one shot which didn't kill the victim. Rather than take a second shot, the would-be killer waited. An act of carelessness for which he should be charged, as the steer continued to suffer. It was almost 3 minutes until a second shot was finally taken and the suffering steer was at long last put out of his agony. During this period, the escaped steer with the injured leg had been roped and held. The earth mover was used to pull the steer in the direction where the other steer had been killed. When the second steer collapsed, he was also shoved into the bucket of the earth mover, just as the first steer had been. Then he was taken to the same dark, shadowy area where he was also shot. As a result of this awful day of animal abuse, property owners Jose and Maria Lopez have each been charged with cruelty and a violation of owners' duties. Shark has pledged to cooperate with the ongoing investigation and the prosecution of all charges. Meanwhile, we will work to see additional charges filed against all those who are responsible. We will keep you posted as these cases advance. If you care about animals, please send an email to the members of the Boone County Board and politely but firmly request that steer tailing be banned in the county and that all state cruelty laws be strictly enforced at animal events held in Boone County. I'm Steve Hindy for Showing Animals Respect and Kindness.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel to see more of our investigations and learn what you can do to help Shark help animals. Consider sharing our videos so other people can help save lives. If you'd like to support Shark directly, you can follow the donation link in the description section of this video. If you'd like to gain access to exclusive content, consider sponsoring us on Patreon.